Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Land of Music podcast with your host, Adam Roach.
All right, here we are with another interview today with Andy from Cold Chisel. Welcome to the show.
Hey, how are you?
Good, how are you, mate?
Yeah, great. Thanks for having me on. It's always great to talk to obviously a fellow musician here, judging by the background you got there. It's,
Just a little bit, yeah.
very nice indeed.
Yeah. And it's been a while since I heard an Aussie on the show tue, so welcome.
Oh, excellent. Hey, you gotta love the Aussies.
That's it. Yeah. So talk about Aussie. So you're the main band, which is Cold Chisel, which is a tribute to Cold Chisel.
Yeah. So the way Cold Chisel was formed was a little bit different from probably the way most tribute bands are formed, because most tribute artists kind of, like whatever the band may be, whether it's Guns N' Roses or AC/DC or whatever, most of the bands are like, oh yeah, I love this band. I really want to do a tribute to this band, blah, blah, blah. But that was never the case with me. It was never my intention to be in a Cold Chisel tribute band. It was quite bizarre, because I was doing my own material for the first 30 years of my life. I don't think I ever sang a cover song, And I got a little bit of interest there from Glenn Wheatley, and I featured on one of his homegrown albums, and so I was a songwriter, a singer, but we were on the Wheatley label, and that was the Wheatley label lost their money when the Pyramid Building Society collapse thing happened in Geelong, and so basically all the interest that was there basically went down the gurgler once the Pyramid Building Society collapsed. So yeah, I got a bit disheartened, and for the first time ever, I started doing covers. I was playing in a duo for about 15 years after that, and it was kind of like I really wanted to do some live music again, and every time I sent something off to record companies and so forth, what I would get all the time. I used to have long dark hair. Yep. At the time, and I always had the big dark rings under my eyes. Oh, yeah. So I'd always get like, oh yeah, he sounds a lot like John English, or he sounds a lot like, I used to get Swanee, sounds a lot like John Swan, and he sounds a lot like Jimmy Barnes, and I used to get Rod Stewart and all these raspy singers, Yeah. And then they'd be like, oh, we already got a John English, and we already got a Jimmy Barnes, we already got a Swanee, So I struggled to get another deal, and I just started doing covers. And then one day, probably 20 years on, my brother just turned around or 15 years on, my brother turned around and goes, oh, look, BABA are making a killing out of this ABBA thing, Why don't you do a Cold Chisel thing, You could call it Old Chisel. And I'm going, Old Chisel, yeah, that's cool. And then I kind of pictured, turn the C into a G, let's turn the red logo into a gold logo, and it became Cold Chisel. And we thought we would get, swear to God, I thought we'd get a year or two out of it, Never in a million years, if you had asked me back then, what am I doing in 5 years or 10 years, let alone 25 years, and we're celebrating a quarter of a century at the moment, that I would be doing this 2.5 decades on. But it turned into a monster. And every time, I think it was 2012, Cold Chisel reformed and did the Light the Nitro tour, and they released No Plans, the album. We thought, yeah, we've done it for 12 years. This is the end of Cold Chisel now. Cold Chisel's back on the road, and then they only did that one tour, and then decide to reinvent themselves every 5 or 6 years. And all they did was, because they released new material, and they introduced the music of Cold Chisel to a whole new generation of people. And suddenly we were playing every single week. I don't think we've had it. Yeah, if we get a weekend off, we are just so happy. Like, it's just been 2012 we formed in 2000. I think it really started to kick off in 2012 when Cold Chisel actually reformed again to do that tour. And it was just, they just kept reinventing themselves and introducing the music to a whole new generation. And they've done it again now. Like last year, they had their 50th anniversary tour, and we'd already planned, long before I'd even heard of that, we planned our quarter century celebration tour for this year. And it turned out they finished their Australian tour in December last year, and then they went to New Zealand, and our quarter century celebration kicked off in January 2025, and it's just been a monster. Like we're doing sellout shows all over the country, you know, and it's great. What started out as an accident is now a full blown business that, you know, has been going for 2.5 decades, and I mean, hey, it's not a bad sort of a job to have, you know.
Yeah, that's right. Gee, I didn't realise it's been that long, 25 years.
Yeah, I know, it's crazy. We honestly didn't expect that, you know. So we're still at it. The quarter century celebration tour, and we've got about 3 months of it to go, and we're pretty much completely booked up. And then we just get to play. I guess I don't get to play my own music that I've written, but I get to play. I get to go out there to full houses and play these evergreen songs that Aussies love. They love the music of Cold Chisel, you know. Like, I mean, I think it was last year and this year, both on Triple M. The Triple M listeners voted Cold Chisel as the #1 greatest Australian rock band of all time, crazily ahead of AC/DC and In Excess, you know, which is, you know, I mean, that changes, you know, like once AC/DC come out here, you know, later in the year, you know, they'll be voted the #1. You know, it goes through seasons, you know, but it's great to be in that top three greatest bands of all time, and to be able to pay a heartfelt, you know, like serious tribute, you know, to those guys. And we take the music very seriously, you know, like we you know, we don't go on there and try to pretend we're Cold Chisel or anything like that, you know, like but I put on the headband because people just relate that to the Cold Chisel thing, and it just makes it a bit interesting. I usually wear it for half the night, you know. But it's great music to play, and it's great to see venues, you know, people queuing up outside of venues and full houses, and yeah, it's just great. And I got the best guys. The guys that play in my band are just they're just brilliant. You know, they're not just great musicians, they're great people, you know. Yeah. And to me, that's just as important. You need, you know, I think a lot of people kind of like, you just got to get the best musicians, blah, 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 you know. You do. And when you're paying tribute, you got to find someone that can actually do justice. Like, you got to find a guitarist that can play those mossy parts, which is not the easiest thing in the world to do, you know. But at the same time, to me, 50% of the equation is they got to be good people, because when you're on the road and you know, waking up in hotels together and sharing rooms and having breakfast together and having dinner together, the last thing you want is tension in the room, you know. And yeah, there's always going to be disagreements about different things and whatever. And hey, you know, I'm not sharing with you tomorrow night. You snore too loud, you know. Like, that's usually what they say to me. You know? And I don't snore unless I had a couple of drinks. So,
well, you're lucky.
Yeah. So, but they're great people and great musicians, and we've just created this thing, this institution that is Cold Chisel.
Now, I think I've played with a couple of the guys. I'm not sure if they're still in the band, but so I did a Neil Diamond show a while ago, and I think, was it Mars, the guitarist?
Yeah, Mars is still there. Yeah.
And Keith,
yeah. Sorry, who's the other one?
Keith,
yeah. Keith's our keyboard player, yep.
Yeah, so they're both still in the band?
Keith the Wizard, yep, absolutely, yeah. No, great guys, great musicians, yeah, no, they're really, really, really good, Yeah, great guys to play with, great guys to be on the road with, just, very happy to call them friends, so.
Yeah, I think great. I mean, I think we did one show with the Neil Diamond show.
Yeah.
That was pretty much it, And do you still have, is that Robbie, the bass player?
Robbie Zane, huh?
Robbie Zane, yeah, still playing bass?
Okay, so it's interesting. So when I say I refer to Cold Chisel as an institution rather than a band, because when probably about 6 or 7 years in, because I run this thing full time as a business, I put in probably 40, 50 hours a week. We play every week, and people say, "Well, how come you guys work all the time? We don't do residencies anywhere."
Yeah.
And it's because someone is driving the train, like it's not just, just don't leave it out there. I work with like 11 different promoters but I manage this thing but everyone else has day jobs and they got to, work their day jobs. And sometimes when you're playing so much, I've actually had people leave the band over the years because I've had too much work and they couldn't commit, So it's a bit, think of it a bit like a theatre company. I have understudies for everyone. So if someone can't make it, rather than not do the show, we have someone that fills in. And then I have understudies for my understudies. So, I have 2 Mossies and I have two Don Walkers and I have, I have 2 drummers. Well, technically I got probably 3 of each, I have understudies to my understudies. No, Simeon Ladamansky is my bass player. He joined the band when he was 17, and he reminded me a lot of me when I was 17. He was a real go-getter. He desperately wanted the gig, and I gave him 10 songs to learn, and he went and learned 30 songs and learned all the harmonies and et cetera, et cetera. But he's doing some original stuff as well, which is really great. I love hearing new original music, So sometimes the guys aren't available. We all play in other bands as well. So the way the Robbie thing came about, because Robbie, she used to be in Flame Trees, and she does the Soul Chisel thing, and she's in a band called Rock Doctors. She's in Rebel Blonde, and she's got an original band called Shadow Queen. I saw them live for the first time not long ago, and they blew me away. A 3-piece original Australian outfit. How they did not become a big international success is beyond me. But I've got a lot of respect for Robbie. She's a great musician, an amazing singer, and she's been doing a few shows with us. Our bass player is actually on his honeymoon at the moment. He got married. He's overseas somewhere for a few months. But whenever we have Robbie, on stage with us, there's a great chemistry between all our players. It just works. Yeah. And I think what I really loved about Robbie, and she'll be the first one to tell you this, even when she auditioned for Flame Trees many years ago, they were a bit sus about having a girl playing bass in a Cold Chisel band, and I was the same. I can't lie, With the Soul Chisel thing, it kind of works because they're not just doing Cold Chisel, they're doing, the Jimmy Barnes soul stuff. They're doing some Jimmy Barnes covers. We're strictly a Cold Chisel tribute. We try to fill the void that, Cold Chisel's not around anymore, But the fact that she was a girl, and I don't mean this in a sexist way in any way, shape or form. Cold Chisel were 5 guys, but her talent is so good that it makes up for, you don't even think about it. She's got great chemistry on stage. And I remember when we had our first rehearsal, she said, which harmony do you want me to do? And when we did You Got Nothing I Want and Rising Sun, now there's harmonies in there that Cold Chisel themselves never did live because Jimmy Barnes double tracked his own voice. He did his own high harmonies there because he was the only one that could reach those notes, These days, I think Mahalia or some of the backing singers do those harmonies for Cold Chisel when they get together. But we had this rehearsal, and I just said, "Look, you just do whatever you feel comfortable with, and if I don't like it, we'll change it." And we did these songs, and she's just pulled out these harmonies because we do all our songs. I think we're probably the only Cold Chisel band in the country that actually do all the songs in the original keys. and everyone tunes down their guitars or changes the keys or whatever. But I think the authenticity of Jimmy's voice is he pushes his voice to the absolute peak, and sometimes breaks up a bit too, but that's Jimmy Barnes. That's what he is. That's who he is. And we try to keep that authenticity. So by taking the songs down, it makes them easier to sing, definitely. And when you're doing night after night, it definitely makes it easier. But I think the authenticity of getting the Jimmy Barnes sound is to be able to push your voice. I'm lucky enough that I'm able to do it because they're bloody hard songs to sing at the best of times. A couple of people said to me, "Oh yeah, the last concert, yeah, they were Jimmy's voice was a bit, felt a bit worn out, But the guy gets up there and does like 28 songs a night, 28 nights in a row, And I mean, anyone that's ever had to sing a Jimmy Barnes song, will know after singing two of them, if you don't do it right, you're in real trouble, So it's I saw an article. I just changed the subject here, but I saw a little article a few weeks ago where someone was saying, AC/DC should hang up their hats. Brian Johnson doesn't sing the same way he used to, and same thing with Paul McCartney. And I saw Paul McCartney. The guy's 81 years old. He plays night after night after night, 3 hours straight with no break. And yeah, sure, he doesn't sound like he did when he was 30 years old, but respect, please, geez, and I think people forget that, live is live, warts and all, you can go and overproduce stuff and put all sorts of effects on your voice, but Cold Chisel is Cold Chisel. There's live, there's no click tracks, there's no backing tracks, there's no, it is what it is. And that's what we try to replicate. We try to replicate that sound, the energy and all the rest of it. And so the thing with Robbie is she came in, she had that energy on stage, and she was able to hit those notes that even Cold Chisel live couldn't do, and it gave it a really great sound. So we do different things depending on which lineup we have. But Robbie's actually so she doesn't do all of our shows, but she's doing a few shows with us this year still. One is at Musicland, which is in 4 weeks' time. Well, depending on when you're listening to this podcast, it's on the 13th of September at Musicland. And we spoke about this before we went live. And of course, there's a couple of very special guests on that night.
Huge show, that one.
And I really should pull this out here because this gentleman here is a very special guest. Now, this album, guys out there, anyone listening, this album, Swanee, and for those younger people that don't know, Swanee is Jimmy Barnes' older brother. That album's just gone #1 across the country.
Really?
So, yes. So it's fantastic. John and I go back a long, long time. Jimmy Barnes' new single is a song called Brother of Mine, which is on this album. And it features Swanee and a younger brother, Alan. Alan's a really, really good mate of mine. He comes and stays at my house and plays with my grandkids. And, we go back, Swanee and I actually go back a lot further. We go back probably about 40 years, but he wouldn't even remember that from back in the day because he was always too out of it. And he'd be the first to admit that he's clean now. He had a rough life, but he came out good on the other end, But it's so Swanee and Alan are coming down as our very special guests at Musicland. Both two of the loveliest blokes you'd ever meet. Just the nice guys in the industry, and there's nothing pretentious about them. They're just the boys like us. So we're actually gonna. So I should talk about the Musicland gig. We've got an Angels tribute opening up. The show, and then Cold Chisel's going to do two sets. So one set we're going to have Swanee get up, and I'll take a back seat, and Swanee's going to get up and do some of his big bangers. He's had a string of hits through the 80s, as you would know. He even had a #1 with he's going to step on you again with the Party Boys. And then he had Hold Your Head Up, If I Were a Carpenter, Lady, What's Your Name, Temporary Heartache, Sail Away. You know, there's a bunch of them. And so he's going to get up and do a bunch of his songs, his singles, at Musicland, and my boys will be his band. And then in the second set, Cold Chisel will get up again, and then Alan and John Swanee, they're going to get up and do a couple of songs off the new album, including the new single, which is called Brother of Mine, with Jimmy, Alan, and Swanee. And so they're going to do a couple of songs. They're going to, which would be great if you want to get a bit of an idea of how good this album is. Go check out the boys live. That'll be really good. And then the three of us are going to get up and do some stuff together. I think we're doing When Something's Wrong with My Baby, When the War Is Over, and it's a tough gig for me because John did some shows with us at Early Beach in Queensland just recently. We went to the hotel manager's place for dinner the night before, and we turned on YouTube. There was a version there. I think it was Swanee and Jimmy Barnes doing When Something's Wrong with My Baby live. I think it was in Adelaide. And I was just trying to get a grip on, I've got big shoes to fill here. So I just wanted to see what he was doing because we didn't have time to rehearse. It was just impromptu. No. And he got up there and he sang like a demon. Guys, we did an afternoon show and John said, I'm not coming down for a 9 o'clock sound check, Andy. He goes, nah. He goes, I'm 73 years old. I can't do that anymore. He goes, you guys sound check. If it's good enough for you, it's good enough for me. And I go, yeah, cool. We did a 9 o'clock sound check. At 10 o'clock, he was upstairs in the hotel. He was down there, and he came down to do the sound check with us. He was going, no, I've got to be part of this. And he went there. We had a full house, people just everywhere watching the sound check, and he sang like a beast. I'm telling you, his voice was insane. Anyway, when he got up later in the afternoon when we did the gig, and he got up on stage, and like I said, it was unrehearsed, doing Something's Wrong with My Baby, and I said, so John, are you going to do Jimmy or are you going to do Farnham? And he goes, I'll take the Farnsey bit. Okay, cool. So I'm singing the Jimmy bit, he's singing the Farnham bit, and my goodness, it was sharing a microphone with that guy it's something else. He's one of the greatest singers this country's ever produced, and he's still at 73. He's still got it, Yeah. And then the next night we did another show, the next one, and he's come up on stage and he's going, Andy, can we switch parts today? I'm tired today. So then he got the Jimmy bits and I got the Farnsey bits, and look, it's great. Like, I mean, I'm honoured to be able to get up there and sing those songs. Great Australian songs, and to share the stage with him. And then we'll have Alan there as well, which is going to be great. And Robbie's playing bass that night with us as well, so we get some really nice high-end harmonies. Not that we need high harmonies because John goes up, out of the stratosphere, and so maybe we need a baritone in there somewhere.
It's going to be a huge night.
Oh, it's going to be fantastic. Yeah. And, look, the tickets are on sale for that through trybooking.com. Yeah, Musicland, 13th of September. There is a meet and greet. There is some very limited, they're almost sold out, very limited meet and greet tickets. If you want to meet Swanee, you can get there. I think it's at about 6:30 or 7 o'clock. There'll be an hour meet and greet with John, and he'll be signing merchandise and stuff, and you get a photo opportunity with him as well. And there will also be a signed guitar. So anyone that's got the meet and greet tickets goes in the running to win the guitar, which John will give away later that night. So, but yeah, we're expecting a full house. John's got his work cut out. He's doing interviews all over Australia at the moment with, to promote the album. But we're hoping to squeeze maybe one more in before the year is through. I've got to work around his commitments. But look, he's a great singer. It's an honour to sing with him. But he's a friend as well. We go back a long way, and yeah, so it's just nice doing stuff together, you know. I remember saying to him, it's a bit weird because he's part of the reason Cold Chisel even exists, you know. And I mean, I don't know. For those that don't know, this album here, it's a duets album, and it's got Alan Barnes, Jimmy Barnes, Mahalia Barnes, Joe Camilleri, Diesel, Dave Gleason, Colin Hay, Jack Jones, Wendy Matthews, Russell Morris, Ian Moss, Rick Springfield, Melinda Schneider. The list goes on. The who's who of Australia is on there. So, when I get up and sing with him, I kind of feel like, hey, you're the reason, part of the reason Cold Chisel even exists, because he knew a lot of the guys, early in the day. Yeah, so for him to get up and sing and do a guest spot with Gold Chisel, it's kind of like, I said to him, I kind of get if you don't want to do this. He's going, Andy, don't undersell yourself. You kill this thing, He goes, you fit the mold perfectly, Yeah. So it's nice, I know some artists hate the whole tribute thing, but at the end of the day, that's what musicians have to do these days if they want to survive. I know a bunch of people doing original music, and they're not making any money. They're basically, they do tribute bands to fund their original stuff, which I'm doing at the moment too, because I'm working on my first original music in 30 years, which I'm hoping to release next year. Like you got to fund. The money has to come from somewhere, And I think the reality is when someone pays a tribute to you, it's probably the best form of praise that anyone can give you, And there's a lot of Cold Chisel, Jimmy Barnes tributes going around Australia, and there's some really good ones. I've seen some amazing ones out there, and even Tim Prestwich, Steve Prestwich's their drummer's brother, late drummer's brother. He had a Cold Chisel tribute in Adelaide as well, and they're one of the best I've ever seen. Like Tim is amazing. I reckon we need to get Tim out and do some shows with us as well. I'm sure he'd be up for it, actually. I hope you're watching this, Tim. Anyway, but I think what makes us different is we try to focus on being a Cold Chisel tribute, not playing, and it's no disrespect to any of the other bands. It's just our point of difference is we're a Cold Chisel tribute, and we just try to. There's so many Cold Chisel fans out there, and you can't go see Cold Chisel. You can still go see Jimmy Barnes perform all his big hits. And I'm wearing this hat specifically because I love Jimmy's solo stuff, but I don't want to touch it. Sometimes we'll pull out Working Class Man just because people go, you got to play Working Class Man. And he's got his 40th anniversary of Working Class Man coming out. That's our point of difference. We are Gold Chisel. And it's a T-shirt that says "Keeping the Legend Alive." I don't know if you can see that. Not that the legend's ever going to die, but that's our little slogan.
That's good.
A little catchphrase.
Did you also say that this is the only Melbourne show that Swanee's doing?
This is the only Melbourne show at this stage. Yeah, that was definitely the first one. I'm sure John will get up there and do lots of guest spots with some of his mates that are on that album. No doubt there at all. But I'm keeping that's up to John to promote that. At this stage, this is the only show that Swanee's doing in Melbourne. I'll tell you the story how I don't often tell this story, but sometimes when we do an intimate sort of a show, I'll tell this story. The way I met Swanee was quite bizarre. He was opening up for AC/DC in their Back in Black tour in 1981 at the My Music Bowl. And I heard this guy sing If I Were a Carpenter, and I was just blown away. My mum had the record by Johnny Cash, and it was just, I heard this version. I go, and I had a record shop in Sunshine, in Melbourne, Sunshine, at the time. And so after hearing this guy, I rang the record company and I ordered up the Swanee's back catalogue. I said, this guy's going to be a monster. This guy was great. This band was great. And anyway, what happened? I had the Circus Animals album. This was few months on, we moved to 1982 now. The Circus Animals album had been released by Cold Chisel, and I had a banner in the window, like a poster, which was about 1 millimeter thick cardboard, and the thing was about 5 foot wide by about 4 foot high, and it filled the whole window. It was the Circus Animals album cover, and I loved that poster. And I was when the promotion was finished, I was taking that home, Anyway, and a dear friend of mine, Trish, came into the shop with this guy, and she said, "Any chance I can have that poster in the window?" And I said, "No." I said, "That's mine." And she said, "It's not for me. It's for Jim over here." And had this she had this guy with him. His name was Jim Swan, which is Swanee's and Alan's and Jimmy's father. And she said, and I said, "Hello, Jim. Who are you?" kind of thing, And she said, "Oh, this is Jimmy Barnes's dad, right?" And I said, "Who's Jimmy Barnes?" And when I tell the story, people laugh because Jimmy Barnes is a household name, right? In 1982, Jimmy Barnes wasn't a household name. He was the singer in Cold Chisel. It was one of the great Melbourne bands or great Australian bands, Anyway, even if you looked on the album cover, it said the singer wasn't Jimmy Barnes. The singer was James Dixon Barnes. So, and she said, "Oh, Jimmy Barnes is a singer in Cold Chisel." I go, "Oh, yeah. Let me see if I can get you a poster," right? And the record company rep from WEA, he said there's only one poster per shop, right? So on the Tuesday, the rep came back in, and I said to him, "Hey, is there any chance I can get another one of those posters?" And he said, "Oh, there's only one per shop." And I said to him, "Oh, it's not for me. It's for Jimmy. It's for Jimmy Barnes's dad." And he said, "Who's Jimmy Barnes?" Same thing, No one really knew Jimmy Barnes wasn't a household name, And when I told him, he goes, "I've got another one in the van. I'll go get it for you." So it was through that poster. I took that poster to Jim Swan, which was their dad. I gave him the poster, and we became friends from there. And I started going to all the shows and backstage, passes to Jimmy's shows and to Swanee's shows, and Swanee wouldn't remember that. Like I tell him, he says he remembers, but he doesn't. He was always so out of it, But the story goes back a long way. So, and I formed a friendship with a lot of the guys in the family over that period. And then I hadn't seen Swanee in years. And then later, we all lived in different states, And then later we sort of caught up again, and conversations happened, and I started a collaboration with Alan Barnes about 9 years ago. We started doing some stuff together. He said, "Andy, we've got to do some stuff together." He said, "This is grouse." He says, "Just like singing with one of my brothers, And then Swanee goes, "Oh, I want him too," Like so, and look, it's just look, we're good friends. I have so much respect for those guys, and just to be sharing a stage with them is going to be amazing. And honestly, people of Melbourne and even interstate, it's the only Melbourne. It's the only. He's not doing a lot of shows at the moment. It's worth getting your ass down there and grab some tickets. And they'll all be gone before long, so you need to grab them quick. But that's at Musicland in Musicland Melbourne, which is Sydney Road, Fawkner, 13th of September. A must attend show. It's going to be really, really good. Our drummer, by the way, for this show is a guy called Jimmy McGecky. Now, Jimmy played on Mull of Kintyre for Paul McCartney in 1977 when he was 16 years old. So it's an all-star started lineup show here. And old mate Mars is on guitar, and Keith on keys. We've got Jimmy on drums. We've got Robbie on bass. I think Alan Barnes is going to bring one of his guitar players down as well, just so he can get up and jam with us. And in the end, there's going to be one big finale. And what happens at the end of the night Is there anybody's guess? It'll be a party. We're gonna go hard, and we're gonna have a great time.
Huge.
Really,
I mean, what a venue too, Musicland. I think it's great. I mean, I play there like every week on a Friday and a Sunday, just acoustic into the beer garden.
Oh yeah, right. Okay, yeah. Yeah,
I just love it.
it's such a good venue. Like the venue's fantastic. Yeah, and yeah, I mean they get the best of the best going through there as well. And yeah, beautiful people to work with. The room's great. I think people love coming to Musicland because it feels like a safe environment.
That's right.
Yeah, no, we're really looking forward to that one. We've got lots of shows coming up, but this one's going to be special. So, peeps, if you haven't got your tickets yet, go out and grab them. Trybooking.com.
Yeah. So, now, the other big question I got for you: have you ever sung with Jimmy Barnes?
I haven't sung with Jimmy Barnes. Now, people think because I'm good friends with Alan and good friends with John that I'm good friends with Jimmy Barnes. I've met Jimmy Barnes probably half a dozen times, maybe, and he certainly knows that we do this. And but I've like Jimmy's, it's like let's say you and I became friends. That doesn't mean that I'm friends with your brother. Do you know what I mean? Like I just haven't had that kind of encounter with Jimmy. He's very close to his immediate family and his circle of friends. I'd love to sing with Jimmy Barnes. That'd be bloody great. But yeah, look, he's he does his thing, and then he's off. Him and Jane are off. As soon as the gig's finished, and into the limo and off into the plane, and and look, he's a very much in demand guy. Actually, I did sing with him. Actually, I sang with him in my studio. The record was playing on the turntable, and I was just singing along with it. So I did sing with Jimmy. It was good. Yeah, I thought our voices blended really nicely.
Awesome. Yeah, so you got that. So the show the 13th of September. That's one we're talking about. But you also have another one coming up on the 15th of November. That's with the Guns N' Roses, John Farnham, and Poison, I think it is.
Yeah, it was. So Matty, who runs the Guns N' Roses show, he approached me, and they do this concept thing once a year at Musicland, and he said, "I want to try something different. I want to try US versus Oz, or Oz versus US, and let's get a couple of the big names from Australia versus a couple of big names from the US." And I said, I really like that concept. It hasn't been done before, So that's going to be another monster. Normally we wouldn't do two shows in the same venue, like so close together, but they're going to be two completely different kind of shows, and even with the gig with Swanee, like I said, we're a Cold Chisel tribute. We normally only play the Cold Chisel songs, but this will be very different as well because we'll be doing stuff from Swanee's album. Alan Barnes had a single out called "Stay" quite a few years back. Alan Barnes' band supported Bon Jovi on the Australian tour, and he had a record out then, and it's a great song. I absolutely love the song. So we're going to be doing that one. We're going to be doing a few songs off the album plus some of Swanee's hits, as well as the Cold Chisel stuff. So it's a really mixed bag, and it's going to be very, very different from the show we do with the Guns N' Roses and Farnham. Because Matty's a real good operator, and he's a great musician. A lot of respect for that guy too, And yeah, he put this thing together as a different concept, so people get a little bit of everything. 4 bands on the one night. And we'll just be going up there and playing all the big bangers, well, look, we always try to make sure we never do exactly the same show, like it can become a bit when bands are playing a lot, you don't want to, the set list will be similar. Obviously, we're always going to play the big bangers, like Flame Trees, K-Stan, Nothing I Want, When the War Is Over, all the ones people want to hear. but we always try to make sure that the set list is never the same twice. Like so, there's such a big back catalogue of great Cold Chisel songs. So we always throw in, outside of the big ones, we always throw in songs from album tracks or whatever. But it's different at every gig, so you never really know what we're going to throw in there. And I think it's it's important because we get a lot of we've got a really good fan base. People that travel from one end of Melbourne to the other side of Melbourne, or people that travel interstate to see us play. And I guess they all want to hear the big hits, but they don't want to go there and just feel like if they've seen, like, fair enough, once, twice, three times, you get the same show, but you don't want it to be exactly the same all the time. We try to be a little bit more spontaneous and make it a bit more so it's just a little bit different each time.
That's good. So you guys did a lot of shows around Australia as well?
We I don't think there's hardly a corner of the country we haven't conquered, from Perth to Queensland to Northern Territory to Tassie to so we sort of we've sort of been everywhere. Adelaide, Alice Springs, and right through New South Wales. So it's a great thing. I guess what I love the most about this, apart from playing this great music, is we get to see so many wonderful places and meet so many wonderful people, and it's all part of it, like I guess for some, it's not for everyone. Some people don't like all the traveling and whatnot. We all love it, when's the next road trip kind of thing, it's great, it's life's short, you just got to make the best of it, and we certainly do.
Now so I was just going to ask you before, but you guys, it's all live, isn't it? There's no tracks.
Everything is live. We don't use any, and there's no disrespect to click tracks. I mean, like, there's horses for courses, like duos often use click tracks, and some of it's just live, and even big acts like say for example In Excess or Barnum Band, they use click tracks for additional things so that they can reproduce what they did in the studio, and then they play live over the top of certain click tracks, and that's great. It's not an easy thing to do either. But Cold Chisel was a live band. There were 5 raw rock players that just gave it their all. It was all about the energy and being spontaneous. And the problem with a click track is, if you deviate from where the track is going, the whole thing's going to be messed up, because we can improvise, we can ad lib, and just it's live, and that's how Cold Chisel was, and that's what we're trying to bring, that same sort of spontaneity and energy that that Cold Chisel had, to the stage,
Yeah, and I guess that's a good thing for you too. I mean, especially for a vocalist, having that live freedom, not to worry about, oh no, I missed that line, or
absolutely. And I've seen a few bands, including big name acts, where something's gone wrong with the click track. Someone's came in too early or too late, and suddenly the whole thing's a big mess. And it happens. But I love, and I'm not against click tracks. I do like to see live instruments on stage. Not a big fan of people replacing instruments with click tracks, but if it's to add certain elements that you can't sort of do live, then it's good. And each their own. But the bottom line is Cold Chisel was a live band, and so we just try to keep it live, So
that's really good. Well, everyone's going to find out on September 13th.
Yeah.
Got that date right?
Yeah, that's the right date,
September 13th at Musicland in Falkland, Melbourne.
Yeah.
So like I said, tickets are available on Try Booking.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure nearly definitely it's going to sell out, especially people find out what the show's all about and what's going to be.
Yeah, the tickets are selling really well now. So I'm pretty sure she's going to be a sellout. So it'd be great. The people won't be disappointed. It's going to be a really fun, high energy night, and it's going to be like you want to go out and have a good time. That's the one. Gonna have a good time tonight.
Yeah, that's right.
If you pardon the pun.
That's going to be great. So, again, so really appreciate your time doing this and finding out a little bit of Van, which has been great. Like I said, I didn't realise it's been that long, so no wonder you guys are so good.
Good on you, Adam. Yeah, I appreciate you taking the time. Have a chat, and it's been a pleasure.
Yeah, you're welcome. All right, thanks again.
Cheers.